Welcome to the Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh channel, where we discuss everything collecting and investing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to be making a tier list for the best sets in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Now, when we rank these sets, we are not looking at, oh, what's the best common card? Oh, I remember Snipe Hunter. Snipe Hunter was really good. We are talking about the most iconic cards, the chase cards, the grail cards. These cards that, in 5 or 10 years, CEO Bobby will think like, damn, I want that card really. And he's not gonna consider, oh, I want a Snipe Hunter in PSA 10. Well, maybe he does, but he's gonna go after those very fancy high-end cards. We're talking the ultimate rares in these boxes primarily. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying, well, the best ranked boxes here, they're completely gonna go to the moon instantly, and all the other ones, they're not going to the moon, or they're gonna crash to zero and so forth. Not at all. Again, we're trying to judge these boxes on how iconic they are, how impactful they are, how loved they were, and that gives us the best odds of predicting what might happen. So we start off with the Lost Millennium. Now, this set I'm putting straight into A. It's a very strong A, and I may bump it to S later. We'll see how everything, works out. For now, it's a strong A. The reason is this was the first set in GX. Now, there are some people who will say, well, actually, Soul of the Duelist is considered first in GX, Rise of Destiny and so forth. And I get you, technically those were the first sets with ultimate rares and so many people add those into GX, but I'm talking purely from an anime standpoint. And now again, some could say, well, Armed Dragon is in that set and so that was also in GX. Yes, there's some spillover. But when we look at sets, this is a set where you don't have Yugi on the front, and the first episode of GX opened with Ancient Gear Golem and Flame Wingman. Both of those ultis are in this set. So to me, this is where GX starts, and when we start ranking dual monsters and beyond, that's where we are gonna be covering those cards. But I'm well aware that they are in this gray area where a lot of people say, they're technically GX to me, and I get that. But in this video, we're ranking just from TLM onwards. So with that out of the way, once again, this is an extremely strong set. Not necessarily from a meta perspective, but from a iconic perspective. First of all, on the front, you have Ancient Gear Golem. This was a beast. Now, it is not, to me, the best card in GX or anything like that. It is still owned by Dr. Crowler, and most kids did not grow up wanting to be Dr. Crowler. They grew up wanting to be Jaden, or in my case, wanting to be Zane. Heck, maybe even Chaz, I don't know. But usually it wasn't Dr. Crowler. So while many people love this monster for how iconic it is not the best card either. Now, in this set, you also have Ultimate Rare Flame Wingman, and now that is a card. That was Jaden's ace. Now, you could argue, oh, it's actually Shining Flare Wingman, and I get you. But if you looked at the GX episodes, the first 30 or 40, Jaden almost always won with Flame Wingman. So that is that ace monster for that character, in my opinion, and a really big hitter. Beyond that, you also have Winged Kuriboh in here. Essentially, GX's Pikachu, the fluffy, cute thing, and so that's just a really big deal. You also have Thunder Giant in here. Once again, just elemental hero cards, because that was, well, they had to introduce Jaden's monsters, right? But the big hitters are the Flame Wingman, the Golem, and then, Winged Kuriboh, in my opinion at least, when it comes to iconic value. So I want to put this in A. Definitely a strong set. It's very possible I'll push it to S. But this is subjective stuff. I'm sure some people will completely want to change this list to their liking, and that's all cool. Like, there's one booster box here that we could actually have a big fight over, but we'll get to that. So next on this list, my favorite set, hands down. Maybe even in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I am a big Dual Monsters fanboy. Be aware of that. However, Magic Ruler, it's my favorite Dual Monsters era set. I think most people know that by now. I still think this set is even cooler than Magic Ruler. So, my favorite set, possibly, maybe, shared with Magic Ruler ever. Cybernetic Revolution. This set, I'm gonna put straight into S. And it's not even gonna be a fight. This is the best, in my opinion. Why? First of all, look who's on the front of the pack. Cyber End Dragon. That was Zane's ace monster. I'm a Zane fanboy. This card, people saw that for the first time. And Jaden has this insane bullshit luck, protagonist luck. And despite that, Zane ate his ass. That is how good they wanted to make Zane. And what card did Zane use? It was the Cyber End Dragon. This monster instilled fear in the hearts of everyone. Beyond that, the ultimate rare of this is so hard to find. I have not even found an unboxing of Cybernetic Revolution where Cyber End Dragon is pulled. all over YouTube. If you've seen one, like, hit me up. I really want to see it. I want to see the person pulling this, but I just haven't seen it yet. If you're not aware, the ultra rare ultimates in GX boxes are actually short printed compared to the super rare ultimate rares. And of course, the rare ultimate rares, those are in different boxes altogether. They're in retail versus hobby. There's a lot of cool videos about that. But essentially, you know, supers and ultras in ultimate are already harder to pull, harder to find. And then the ultra ultimates are even harder. We're talking about a card that is so hard to chase in Cyber End Dragon. Just as hard as I want to say like Flame Wingman and Ancient Gear Golem. This is basically Blue Eyes Ultimate in GX. The big issue with Blue Eyes Ultimate is it never received a proper rare printing in a main booster set. First we had the Jump, and what was it, reprinted in one of the retros or the premiums or whatever, you know, but it never ever got that premier introduction in a set. And the God cards have the same issue. But here, we did get that. So you have not only Cyber End Dragon, you also have Cyber Dragon on top of that. Once again, the monster. Not only was Cyber Dragon broken as fuck on release inside the TCG, which means everyone played with it, which means they all got destroyed, it was also, once again, basically Blue Eyes of GX. You also have, of course, Cyber Twin, you have Power Bond, you even have Winged Karibo level 10. That's not as heavy of a hitter in my opinion as these others I've mentioned, but oh my god. The chase for the Cyber End will forever make Cybernetic Revolution, in my opinion, either the best or some would argue the second best set in GX. That is how ridiculous it is. So Instant S, in my opinion, best set, and some will argue a set that's coming up later will be the best and this would second. I get you, but I'm putting this in the first place. Now, speaking of what a lot of people will consider the best, we're talking EEN. Now, this set, once again, I'm putting straight into S right after CRV. But again, a lot of people may say this is the best, and you know, I'm not gonna argue that. I can see it, I can feel it. Personally, I think the Lost Millennium is actually cooler. I think that Flame Wingman is more iconic than Shining Flare Wingman. So I wouldn't mind actually, let's see here. I wouldn't mind putting it like this, a bit closer. So Elemental Energy was filled to the brim with Elemental Hero Ultimate Rares. And the amount of people collecting Elemental Heroes is huge. I think Elemental Hero collectors is probably the second biggest collector class in Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole. So, you know, you have your typical dual monster simps, like kind of me, and then you have your Elemental Hero collectors. Those are like the biggest, and then we start getting smaller and smaller groups from there. People love Jaden. Jaden is their daddy. And if you want Elemental Heroes, there's just nothing quite as big as Elemental Energy. All the good ulti pulls are Elemental Heroes in there. So while you may be getting your Flame Wingman from the Lost Millennium, you're getting all the others in Elemental Energy. When people consider what's the holy grail of GX, usually it will be a fight between the edgelords, me going for Cyber End Dragon, and the Elemental Hero fans going for Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman. That straight up puts Elemental Energy so high. And now again, some will say I think Elemental Energy is better than Cybernetic Revolution. That may end up being true, you know. Again, this is all subjective. This is just my edge boy opinion right here. But that is how I feel about it. You definitely also have other cool cards in here, like Water Dragon, if you were a Bastion fan. You also have VWXYZ, whatever the hell, you know, if you were a Chaz fan. But of course, we're really focusing on these heavy hitters. I could definitely make separate videos to go really in depth on sets as a whole. So let's not get too detailed here. So this is how I feel so far about it. Next up, a really big hitter, Shadow of Infinity. Once again, this bad boy is going straight here. Now, you'll notice we really haven't had bad sets yet, right? Yeah, and that is no coincidence. I think GX was a really, really strong start, kind of a slower middle, and then a really strong end again when it comes to pack quality, let's say. So Shadow of Infinity, as you can see on the pack already, this had Raviel, Hamon, Uriah. These are GX's God cards, you know. The color palettes aren't an accident. They knew what they were doing. And like I said earlier, the God cards never got their proper in-main booster set prints which is a real shame because it means you didn't have a chase. You know, it's just a Game Boy promo. And that will forever mess a little with the supply, mess a little with the pop. That's also why the pop is so high. But here, you do have that booster pack chase. And once again, they are super iconic. So when you notice the ultimate rares of these, they are so damn high. And I would dare to say that this is better than the Lost Millennium. So I'm going to put it like right here. We're using the horizontal lines now to show quality. Right here, again, 3 super strong ultis right there. If you pull one of the 3, jackpot. Insanity. Once again, if you're an edgelord, you probably prefer the Sacred Beast even over the God cards. Like personally, if I'm looking at Hamon, I think he's way cooler than Winged Dragon of Ra. Fun fact also, Shadow of Infinity is actually the first full booster box that I ever opened. You know, as a kid, you don't necessarily have the money to go buy a whole box. It was usually like, oh, I can buy 1 pack, fun. Shadow of Infinity was the first time I had a box. And we actually got that from someone within Upper Deck. Yeah, crazy stuff. Maybe I'll tell that story one day. Love this set so much. Beyond that, again, I like Zane. This also has Cyber Laser Dragon and Cyber Barrier Dragon. Now, Cyber Laser is the better of the two in terms of chase because, first of all, kids love attacking and not defending, but also that's the Ultra. I actually remember in that box, I pulled the Cyber Laser Dragon. Love that card so much. Next up, we have a pretty controversial one. Enemy of Justice. I want to say this set is definitely weaker. However, I prefer it over some of these up here. So we're trying to stay subjective in the sense that I think Cybernetic Revolution is like the best one, even though a lot of people will say Elemental Energy is the best one. However, you can't speak against data. People just straight up prefer Elemental Energy over Enemy of Justice. And you know, it is what it is, but I actually like this set a lot. First of all, the issue with it is that its elemental heroes are Aster Phoenix's elemental heroes. And so if you are a Jaden fan, you're not as excited for Phoenix Enforcer and Shining Phoenix Enforcer as you were for some of the inclusions of Elemental Energy and of course the Flame Wingman. You know, Phoenix Enforcer is basically Edgelord Flame Wingman and Shining Phoenix Enforcer is Edgelord Shining Flare Wingman. Now, me, and once again, I like that edgy style. I preferred Aster over Jaden. I like this set. This also comes with the Destiny heroes, you know, Dreadmaster, Diamond Dude. So I love those cards a lot. I think this set is really cool, but the market so far doesn't seem to agree with me, and that's fine. So I am putting it in B because it doesn't have the iconic hitters quite as much as these other ones. And once again, B isn't necessarily bad. And since it has elemental heroes, like I wouldn't mind putting it between A and B maybe, because we will be getting some weaker sets here. So maybe just like this is fine. But you know, it's just not as strong of a set. Like what Ultra Ulti do you have? Voltanis? Wow. I love Dreadmaster, by the way. Dreadmaster is one of my favorite GX cards. I would love to have it in a PSA 10, but it's just not these other top sets we've already spoken of. I still have that box actually. Obviously it's a bit destroyed, but I may show it off in video someday because it's pretty weird how I kept it for so many years. Like what is it now? 15 years ago? No, not 15, maybe 14. So then the next set, we have Power of the Duelist. So in this set, we are getting into that second era of GX, I want to say. Maybe Enemy of Justice is already in that because Aster Phoenix is being introduced. So Enemy of Justice is maybe the start of the second era, whereas Power of the Duelist is the second set in that second era. This set, again, isn't as iconic, in my opinion, as these 4 stronger ones that we had before. I would put it higher than Enemy of Justice personally. My reasoning for that is it has Chimera Tech Overdragon. Now, Chimera Tech Overdragon is not seen by people as a Holy Grail card, and for the longest time you could get it for very cheap. I bought a minty one a little while ago for 95 euros, and then now I bought another near mint one for 90 euros. So like, it's definitely not the heavy hitters. You could never do this with a fucking Cyber End Dragon. But my favorite GX episode ever was when Zane became angry. When he played against that slime dude, and he just went, you know what, fuck respecting my opponents, here's Chimera Tech, eat a dick. That was the best episode in GX. I think I rewatched that episode like 7 times in one day. That's how cool I thought that episode was. But again, that's mega subjective. I think Chimera Tech is just so evil and amazing looking. I really want it in a PSA 10. I currently have one being graded and one that I still need to send in for grading, so hoping there. But yeah, I love that card a lot. Now beyond that, this also has elemental heroes though. However, they are the new era of elemental heroes where you had the Neos and the Neospatians being fused in. So a lot of elemental hero fans tend to prefer the first era, where they were basically morphing Sparkman, Clayman, Avion, Burstinatrix, Bubbleman, and so forth, and those were mostly found in that elemental energy and so forth, whereas Power of the Duelist, it's mostly like, here's Neospatian, whatever the fuck. So it's a bit weaker, but it's still a strong set, you know. I'm not saying this set will do badly over the long term, I just don't think it will do as strong as these top two right here. It also has some more of the Destiny heroes, so if you are an Edge boy, that is still exciting, you know. I recently bought a Ultimate Rare PSA 10 Destiny hero Dogma because I think it's a really cool card, but it's just not in the same level of iconic towards as many people compared to something like an elemental hero. So that's why I'm putting it in B. Once again though, it is still a set with a lot of elemental heroes. So if someone wants to not just collect the first ones, but also wants the later elemental heroes, they will still need to go for this one. But it's definitely not up there with the elemental energy in the Cybernetic Revolution. Next up, the most controversial set in GX, in my opinion. We have Cyber Dark Impact. Now, before I give this set its place, be aware that I love this set and the whole world disagrees. So be aware of that. Now, I am going to put this straight into C. When you ask people what is the worst set in Yu-Gi-Oh history, you will usually hear one of three things. They'll either say the Astral Pack thing, they'll say the Rise of Destiny, or they'll say Cyber Dark Impact. The issue was when this set came out, it didn't have many heavy hitters. You had the Vanities, whatever the hell, that only really saw its play later down the line. From an iconic perspective, it doesn't have much going for it. Its Ultra Ultimate is what, Allure Queen level something, Lucius level something, all these level cards that almost no one cared about. Sure, you had Snipe Hunter in here, that's cool, but overall, this set just fell short at time of release. This was one of the worst selling sets in Yu-Gi-Oh history maybe, or at least GX history. People just weren't excited for it. Now, one major caveat. Again, my Zane simp is coming out here. Cyber Dark Dragon is super fucking cool. I loved it when Zane became evil. And so, Cyber Dark Dragon as an ulti, I would love to have it. But that is basically all this set is relying on when it comes to its iconic cards. Now, of course, maybe you want to collect the different Cyberdark pieces. They are, however, still cheap as hell because almost no one wants them. So currently, you know, it's just not looking too hot. Now, would I like a Cyberdark Dragon Ultimate Rare? Absolutely. If you have one for sale, I'll probably buy it off you. Hit me up on Instagram at SolemnYugioh. But the large majority of people does not like this set. That's also why it's probably still the cheapest GX set. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some out there that are still cheaper, especially if you consider Rise of Destiny already part of GX. You know, also in Soul of the Duelist, there's some ultis that are still dirt cheap beyond the Horuses, of course. So maybe people are like, those are actually the cheapest GX sets. Alright. Cyber Dark Impact, you know, not very loved. Again, I love this set. I think the art is super cool. Cyber Dark Dragon is daddy. But apart from that, it just doesn't have as much going for it as some of these other sets. Next up, we have Strike of Neos. Maybe more loved than Cyber Dark Impact, purely because it at least has elemental heroes. And so if you're a hero collector who wants to have the full sets, you'll still need these Neos-based cards. It has 3 Ultra Ulti heroes, so that's a pretty solid amount, but once again, they're kind of like the lesser loved heroes than the elemental energy ones. One thing I forgot is that this set has fucking 6 samurai and the Grandmaster. Holy shit. So yeah, I would probably bump this up to better than Enemy of Justice, honestly. I just straight up forgot about the 6 Sams. You have Skyscraper 2, so if you're a hero fan and you're trying to also get the cards around the heroes, you know, you have your Skyscraper from the first era, and then from the second era you have your Skyscraper 2. You also have some Dark World in here, like Rainbow, which is really cool. Again, edgelord inside me loves Dark Worlds, but I don't think that's really enough to make a set a hit. I also feel like when we start comparing it to other things on this list, when you look at an Enemy of Justice, you still have some of those Destiny hero fan favorites, whereas in Strike of Neos, you're really just relying on those few Neo heroes. Now here's gonna be a bit of a controversial one. Force of the Breaker. This is definitely not as big of a fan favorite as these higher ups here, but I'm gonna put it still relatively well, because I feel this set is very underrated. Here's why. First of all, Crystal Beasts are a fan favorite. You have a lot of people in love with Crystal Beasts. It might be the third most loved archetype in GX. You know, you have your elemental heroes for the people who like the protagonist, you have your cybers for the edgelords, and then I would say Crystal Beast is right after that. Even though I prefer Destiny heroes, I think some of these other cards are really cool. I think Ancient Gears are very cool. I love Cyberdarks and so forth, but Crystal Beasts are just so different. And they are such pretty cards as well. I think Crystal Beasts are loved, but still underrated. The only thing it doesn't have going for it is that Sapphire Pegasus is basically the Crystal Beast Ultra, and beyond that you have a lot of random jank in its higher rarity ultimate rares. Now, I love Volcanic Doomfire, by the way. Volcanic Doomfire, once again, really epic card from the GX era. I love this artwork. From all the packs, I want to say my favorite, of course, is Cybernetic Revolution when it comes to pack art. Then we have probably Shadows of Infinity, but then it's definitely Force of the Breaker for me. I think Volcanic Doomfire is a beautiful card. Volcanics are also a pretty loved archetype. Now, a lot of people would probably put it maybe here, but you know, I think it's a really cool set. Again, if it was up to me, I would be super biased, put Destiny Heroes straight up there, but that's just not really the case. Whereas here, I think Crystal Beasts are interesting. Now, next. Now we're getting, once again, we had a bit of a slower part, right? You know, we had our big hitters right here. Then we had a bit of our slower mid GX. And then we get to later GX sets. And this is where we once again introduce some heavy hitters. We are now getting into Tactical Evolution. Introducing Ghost Rares. GX introduced Ultimate Rares. Okay, we can say like Soul of the Duelist, Rise of Destiny, and so forth. Okay, those were technically then GX because of ultis, but you know, GX was mostly known for its Ultimate Rares. However, at its tail end, it did introduce Ghost Rares. Ghost Rares are loved by so many people. You know, when we get to Crown Jewel Ghost Rares, usually people think of a couple, you know. You have your Stardust, your Black Rose, but you also have Honest and Rainbow Dragon. There's more cool ones, but you know, I'm just off the top of my head. Rainbow Dragon Ghost Rare is such a powerful chase card. It is just mind-blowing. Once again, there's Crystal Beast fans out there. And if you are maxing out Rainbow Dragon because you love that card, maybe you want the Crystal Beast Ultimate Rares also part of that collection. That's why I put Force of the Breaker a bit higher, because I feel as that market matures, more and more people will want to pick up the Crystal Beasts to go along with their gorgeous Rainbow Dragon. Rainbow Dragon Ghost Rare is just such a chase card, and also so hard to get in PSA 10 because Ghost Rares just get scratched up in the factory all the time. I want to put this baby straight into S tier. In my opinion, Cybernetic Revolution is S, Elemental Energy is S, Shadow of Infinity is S, and Tactical Evolution is just right back into S. Strong, no argument in my opinion. However, be very aware that it is very top heavy. When we think of what other chase cards are in this set, we really can't name many. There's some cool cards, don't get me wrong. Like Zombie Master is one of my all-time favorite cards. I loved playing zombies with Zombie Master. There's also some other cool elemental heroes in here. You have Ill Blood, which I think is really cool. You have Cyberdark Impact even, I want to say. You know, a lot of really cool cards, but when you are talking about Grail, heavy hitting cards, it is the Rainbow Dragon Ghost Rare or bust. You know, Zombie Master, as much as I like that card, you can still get the ultis for like $50. It is not a chase card. It is not iconic. It might be iconic for zombie players, but it's not iconic for collectors at large, whereas Ghost Rare Rainbow Dragon absolutely is. So that is a risk in this set. Even though if you are investing in sealed, you're not breaking it yourself usually, we may still see people go, well, my odds of pulling a Rainbow Dragon just aren't high enough. I'm not even gonna bother with this set, and then drop it, and that may impact the price negatively. Even though people will pay premiums, like irrationally for sealed product, you know, the gambler's premium, I don't know if a singular chase card is enough to keep that going long term. So, you know, I put it in S purely of that Ghost Rare Rainbow Dragon. But if you're telling me, Maxime, you can't just put something in S purely of one card, okay, then maybe it can go back into A. Perhaps. I'll put it, you know, I'll put it a bit lower because, okay, fine. It's not quite as powerful as Cybernetic Revolution and Elemental Energy just of a Rainbow Dragon, but it's up there. It's up there. But once again, though, if you're cracking a Shadow of Infinity or an Elemental Energy or a Cybernetic Revolution, your odds of having a good hit is much larger than hitting the one Ghost Rainbow Dragon. much larger. Not to mention even like, oh, first edition pull rates. What about I have to go into the blister packs for this pull and I have to go into the tins for this pull. It gets really, really convoluted. So as a set up there, in terms of opening it, hoping for the pull, maybe not. But again, look at that pack art. You know, it easily beats Force of the Breaker in my opinion. Right now, if we just look at pack art alone, Cybernetic Revolution, then Rainbow Dragon, then Shadow of Infinity, then Force of the Breaker. That's purely subjective, by the way. Next up, Gladiators Assault. This is once again a heavy hitter. You know, I already mentioned it. We had our weaker mid, in my opinion, in GX, and then we had the strong ass packs. Now, what's interesting in Gladiators Assault is you are not just looking for the ultimate rares. You are also looking at a set with such a ridiculous amount of secret rares, where some of these secret rares are so sought after and iconic. We're talking Necro Face, we're talking Magic Formula, and much, much more. People just love that. Now, you also have good ultis. You have your Test Tiger, which is a cutie. You also have Elemental Heroes. You also have the Ghost Rare Elemental Hero. You also have a misprint between Rainbow Dragon and this, but that's not in the box, I believe. That's only in the tins or the blister. You know, correct me if you're a big sealed GX guy. I'm not sure which one was in which. But, you know, you have heavy-hitting Ghost Rare. You have heavy-hitting ultis with heroes. You have insane secret chase. Some are so short printed. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Prices on some of the singles in this set are insane. Now, when we look at iconic, however, they are, in my opinion, not as iconic to the collector's audience at large as the Cybernetic Revolution and the Elemental Energy. Because a lot of these aren't anime cards. This also has, by the way, Gladiator Beasts, which was a super strong deck. If you want your Heraklinos in Secret Rare, like, go pick that up. I think it's pretty cheap still, because again, a lot of people are looking for that Magic Formula and Necroface Secret Rare. But you know, back in the day, if you were a player, you probably loved that archetype as well. You also had the evil heroes in here, like Malicious Edge. So if you were into Edgy Jaden, I wasn't because I already had enough Edge boys in here. But if you were into Edgy Jaden, maybe that's something for you as well. Overall, this set just had something for everyone, I want to say. And so despite it not being as iconic as Cybernetic Revolution and Elemental Energy when it comes to, you know, anime staying power, if we want to call it that, I do think it is good enough to be right up there in that S tier. Just, you know, not as good as Cybernetic and Elemental Energy. So if you look at how we're structuring it, we're keeping the best to the left and then slightly worse over to the right and then also top to bottom. I don't know, I hope it makes sense, but this is an extremely strong set. Also note that I do not actually own a single sealed box of GX, so this episode is not me being biased in any way. I don't get anything out of hyping singular boxes in here. Now, personally, because of the iconic nature of these other two, I don't want to put it quite as high, so I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to put Tactical Evolution just slightly lower. But once again, that's not necessarily financial, you know. It's possible that one of these is higher than the other. I actually haven't checked. Next up, once again, a heavy hitter, we have Phantom Darkness. Now, this set is a player set. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at something like Force of the Breaker, you know, Crystal Beasts were not a big deal. Volcanics were pretty good, but they were, you know, we're not talking about meta-breaking cards there. When we look at Cyber End Dragon, that wasn't a meta-breaking card. Cyber Dragon was, but not Cyber End. When we look at a lot of these elemental heroes, those weren't meta-breaking cards. Of course, Stratos was super good and so forth, but some of these fusions really weren't. However, when we get into Phantom Darkness, the Dark Armed Dragon, and the cards surrounding that archetype, they broke the game. The game entered a tier 0 format. People opened this box continuously to find their short printed Dark Armed Dragons. And this makes it so not only is finding sealed boxes of this so damn hard, it also means, since they were all opened and played, a lot of these got destroyed, unlike some of the other cards which were collector cards from the start. So this is a strong set. Absolutely. A lot of people also want to collect some of these cards because they remember playing with them competitively. Like me personally, I am grading a Dark Armed Dragon because that was just my favorite card as a competitive player back then. But it wasn't like I saw Dark Armed in the anime. That wasn't the thing, you know. Yugioh was a card from the anime, but it's not like a lot of people remember that card in comparison to some of these elemental heroes. So absolutely strong set in the sense that it had some of the most game impactful cards of all time, but it's not like this was a Cyber End thing where it had no meta relevance beyond cheesing with limiter removal and Megamorph and so forth, but it just did so much in the game that you have to mention it. You have to give it credit for that. And once again, try and find a sealed Phantom Darkness these days. You just can't. Beyond that, it's also very hard to find PSA 10s of these cards. Like, I have not seen a first edition Secret Rare Dark Armed Dragon in PSA 10. I just haven't. If you have one, cool. I would love to see it, but I haven't seen it for sale in months. And then finally, we have Light of Destruction. You know, we got our Dark pack in here, our Edge Boy pack, and of course they had to offset that with something less Edge Boy, and then we got our Light Sworns. Now, once again, in this set, super strong Ghost Rare. Honest is a loved card. People want a Ghost Rare Honest. That is a big chase pool in that set. There's also people who love Light Sworns and still want Ultimate Rare Lightsworns just to play with. So even now, Ultimate Rare Lightsworn cards are being destroyed instead of being collected. That is huge. Now, it doesn't have your raw Elemental Hero this, Cyber Dragon this. It has, you know, Destiny Dragoon. You have your Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Okay, but those are really not the heavy iconic hitters. So you're again looking at people who chase just the Ghost Honest, and then a lot of people with fond memories as players and Lightsworn fans. So I do not think this set is as heavy of a hitter when you speak purely collector base. However, because back then so many people opened them, it's very hard to find sealed. So I'm gonna put it here for iconic collector value, but be aware, the value of the box itself may be higher than some of the boxes on this list. Especially because when you look at retail boxes, a lot of the heavy hitters can't even be pulled from these ultis, and that puts some downward pressure, whereas these just were open no matter what. If you wanted to play Lightsworns competitively, and you know it was a very strong deck, you were basically in that format. I think you were playing Dark Armed Dragon, Lightsworn, or get the fuck out of the room. That was how insane it was. So very, very strong deck. Gladiator Beast was also very strong, so a lot of people opened them, so finding boxes of this is incredibly hard. Also, Judgment Dragon is just a beautiful card, so a collector player from back then does want that in their collection. So I personally don't value it as highly as, you know, the Cybernetic and the Elemental Energy, because the ultimate rares just aren't there. Also notice after a while they actually stopped printing super rare ultis, but you know, people just love their Lightsworn still. Judgment Dragon is a really big hit, and once again the chase for the Ghost Honest is just huge. Now, if I had to re-rank these, I could probably like put these slightly higher. Let's see, how am I gonna do this? Gladiators Assault, really big set still. Maybe something like this. Now, of course, you can wiggle around a little. Maybe you think, I think this should be slightly higher than this. This is more wanted than this. I get you. This is just a solid guideline, I want to say. I don't think there's anything in C that should be an S or anything in B that should be like above Cybernetic and so forth. But it's still a tier list from, you know, one human giving their subjective opinion. So maybe someone disagrees and so forth. That's all fine. I would actually love to hear your thoughts about that in the comments down below. So maybe you think some set is really underappreciated, and I would love to learn about that and hear about that. It's always interesting to talk about. Once again, if you think Rise of Destiny, Flaming Eternity, Soul of the Duelist are supposed to be on here, sure, I feel you. I personally put them in Duel Monsters era still, but I get the argument of, oh, ultis are GX already. I feel you. So that's all. Like, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.